Hi everybody, Cherie here from the studio, and today we're going to talk about working with photos that are not great photos. And I'm just going to preface this by saying I am not a photo editing expert by any stretch of the imagination. When I want to really correct a photo, I normally go and use an action that I have. But not everybody has access to an action. I do want to say that there are some wonderful Lightroom presets in the studio store. There are some wonderful overlays in the studio store, and those will get you beautiful results for your photographs. But today we're going to just do 3 things that will get you better results than the original photograph, and we're going to talk about some things not to do with a bad photograph. So, let's start with what I have. Amy Harrison gave me permission to use these photos. And this is a scanned image. And if we look at the image size, it's actually not terrible. It's 2550 pixels by 3500 pixels, which for inches, let's look at that. It's 8.5 by 11 inches at 300 DPI, which isn't bad, honestly. I mean, I have scrapped with photos that are at 72 DPI, and those are really hard to scrap with because they're so tiny. But this isn't bad. So what I did is, of course, you know me, I always copy my original. So this is a copy of the original photos that she gave me. And then what I did is I cut out the 3 that I want to use. So I just selected them and put them on their own layers so I knew what I was working with. So here are our 3 original photos. You can tell, this is Amy and her mom. You can tell here at this top photo that's very kind of orangey, which you get a lot with pictures from the 70s because we're old. So we get this orangey feeling, and it's really hard sometimes to get that orangey sepia kind of feel out of the photograph. Again, I am not an expert, but I'm going to show you just a few tricks to do this. This bottom one here of Amy, where she does not look very happy, has this crease down the middle of it, and it's got the light dappling and stuff, and it's just not very pretty light-wise. We're going to play with that a little bit. I'm going to show you just a little trick that Photoshop has, and Elements also, I think, has, that just is called the Auto Color Corrector, that will work wonders for us. And this one isn't bad at all, actually. It just needs brightened up a little bit. All of these, though, are only about 3 inches, and they will not set up a huge focal point on a 12 by 12 paper. So we're going to talk about that too. So here is the first image. I have corrected this a little bit. Here is the original image, and you can tell that it is very orange. So what I did was I, of course, copied the original image. So duplicated the original image, and then I played with the blend mode on this. I set it to screen, and then I put the opacity at 80%. Now, this is still not perfect, and honestly, I don't know how to make this a perfect photo. So, this is the best that I'm going to be able to get this, but I'm going to show you what I would do if this photo was what I had to work with. What I would do is I would merge visible, and you know that I'm working on a duplicate because I would never work on my original file for this. I would merge visible, and then I would work on putting a border around it just so I know what I'm working with. So I would double click here on my layer, and I would go to stroke. And it's already putting a white border around it, which is what I want. This is a size 13 stroke on the outside, which is what I want, and the normal blend mode. I think I'm going to up the size of the stroke a little bit to maybe like 15 probably, and then say okay. And then, because I want this to stay the way that it is so that I can play with that stroke if I want to later, I'm going to drag and drop that onto these papers. These are papers from the Showers and Flowers collection from my store. And I'm just going to drag and drop. Now you can see that this is not the best photo, and it's not going to be the most wonderful thing. But here's something that I want you to know. You cannot do two things with this. Number one, you cannot make this larger because it will not look good. Let me show you. If I make it larger, it's just going to get worse, grainy, and the colors are going to be terrible. So you don't want to do that. Cancel. The other thing you don't want to do is try to make it a shape that it is not. So this is a square, and it's just going to be a square. If you try to transform this, and if you push and hold the shift key and try to make it like a rectangle, that is called distortion, and you don't want to do that. Either way, you don't want to do it taller or wider or anything with any photo. Even if you had a great photo and it was beautiful pixels and beautiful color, you don't want to distort it. Even to fit on a template, you don't want to distort your photo. You can manipulate it and make it bigger if you're keeping the proportions correct. But if you're moving your proportions, that's called distortion, and that's not a good thing to do for your photo. So again, you don't want to do that. So here's one photo on our little thing, and that is one way to do that. So here is another photo. I'm going to make this a little bigger for us. This is the bottom one, and this is the original one that we did. Now this actually doesn't look bad. Again, this is a little over 3 inches. It's not very big. But what I did here is I duplicated the layer and I put it on overlay, and it's only at 66% this time. But I did this handy thing, and I went up to image and I did auto color, and it made this image just pop. And I probably could not have made this effect myself by playing with, if you go to image and you go to adjustments and you go to levels and curves and brightness and contrast, I probably, with my skill level, could not have accomplished the same thing. So I'm going to use the automated auto color and use this with a layer adjustment. So again, I just used overlay and then used the auto color. So once again, because I like that stroke around it, I'm going to merge visible, double click, and then add the stroke. And it's going to keep the same settings that I had before. So that actually looks pretty cute. And once again, I'm going to drag it onto that 12 by 12 canvas so you can see what it looks like. And again, that looks super cute. And actually, that looks great with the blue because it's got a brighter color. And that is the thing that I would do with that one. But honestly, this one looks so good that I would actually probably make it smaller. I know that that's crazy because it's already small. But one of the things that we've learned in the balance layout a day is working with odd numbers. So I'm going to turn off the visibility here. And what I would probably do is duplicate this and make 3 of them so that it looks kind of like a film strip. And I would select all 3 of these and go up here and just align them and space them out so it looks like a film strip. And then I would add my other papers and embellishments and scrap with that 3 times. That's what I personally would do with this photo. And I know, again, you can't see everything perfectly. It's an older photo and we shrunk the size a little bit, but that's how I would work with this photo and make it fun. It would make it fun to work with. So that's how I would do that one. So let's close those ones down, those 2 down, and let's work with this 3rd one. And this is little Amy, and she has this crease. Let me take those off. This is my original photo, or her original photo, and it's cropped down. And you can see that this is hard. This has got this crease down the middle, and there's really no way that I can fix that. Not with my skill. If I really took the time, honestly, I could probably stamp it out and clone it out all the way down. But 2 things. Number 1, this photo is cute enough like it is, and I don't need to worry about trying to do so much manipulation to this that I can't, that the original photo is not good enough for this. Number 2, it tells a story even with the crease down it. And that's the whole point of using these bad photos, is that they do tell the story. So I'm going to use this like it is. I'm just going to pump it up a little bit. So the first thing I did was I duplicated the layer and I put it on soft light with 100% opacity. And that brightened things up a little bit. And it kind of sharpened the colors a little bit. But here's where the magic takes place. I duplicated the layer again and I put it on screen, and then I did that magic auto color thing. And it did brighten things up. You can actually tell that her dress is blue now. You can see the dappling of the light. You can still see that crease, and that's just going to be the way that it is. But you can see her skin tone a little bit better. You can see that she's not really thrilled with having her photo taken in this one, but that's okay. It still tells the story, and it is better than the original, and that's the focal point. So again, I'm going to merge visible, and then I'm going to double click and put that stroke on there, just because I like that. It looks like a Polaroid almost, and I like that on my photos. That is optional, of course. So again, I'm going to turn the 3 off, and I'm going to drag and drop little Amy on here. And this one I would probably, I don't know what I would do. I'd probably put it in the center and maybe put a circle behind this one, and then do balance with a circle in the center and try that. Or you could actually crop this with a circle. The key is not to make it larger. So we could crop this into a circle by using the marquee tool. That's the little tool up here. It looks like marching ants. It's a square right now, or a rectangle, but if you shift M, it will change into a circle. And if you hold the shift key down, it stays perfectly proportioned, and we can make it a circle and then cut Amy out. I'm going to push Command J and cut Amy out. And now I have a perfect circle of her. And that is a okay way to do this too, to crop in a creative way. The key is just to not make it bigger, because that will not work for your photos. So those are 3 ways to work with photos that are not great. Make sure you use the tools that Photoshop or Photoshop Elements gives you. If you are better at using brightness and hue and saturation and levels and curves, go for it. That will be a fun way to work with photos. If you're like me and you're not an expert at that stuff, use the tools that you have, and just remember the rules of not making it larger than it already is, and do not distort your photos, because that will make for just an unpleasant situation on your page. So if you have any questions, let me know. If I can't answer your questions, I will point you to an expert who can answer your questions, because that's not probably going to be me. But I'll cheer you on, and I'll help you along the way. So this has been a great time, and I hope you learned something new, and I'll see you around the studio. Bye.